Broom with the Tuesday, December 16th edition of the CBC Evening News. In our top story tonight, Finance Minister Chris Sinclair says government has decided to delay the introduction of any new major taxes at this time. In a ministerial statement delivered to the lower house this morning, Mr. Sinclair also disclosed that Barbadians will have to wait until the next 4 months for a budget presentation. Lisa Lord reports.
Finance Minister Chris Sinclair says the fiscal adjustment program, which was implemented 16 months ago, is working. He says the foreign reserves have stabilized and economic growth is returning, with growth projected at a maximum of 0.3% this year and between 1.5 to 2% next year. Mr. Sinclair says the deficit should now be reduced by between 5.3 and 5.6% for the next financial year, 2014 to 2015. He says Cabinet has made the decision at this time to offer a tax amnesty to Barbadians on all interest and penalties owed by December 31st. Mr. Sinclair says the principal on all taxes must, however, now be paid by March next year. He says Cabinet will also be reviewing the controversial municipal solid waste tax to see if it is justified in its present form.
The economy is showing its strongest signs of recovery since 2009, and we want to exercise an abundance of caution, an abundance of care, I should say, in introducing new measures that may derail a return to sustainable growth.
Mr. Sinclair said it was always his intention to present a budget this month, but after initial consultation with stakeholders, it was decided that there was a need for a further discussion on several measures. The budget will now be presented in April 2015.
This decision will allow the ministry and its strategic agencies and partners to more properly consult on key policy initiatives that will impact on critical aspects of our economic, financial and social care sectors, and our efforts for fiscal consolidation and growth. This will be particularly necessary in carrying out the appropriate level of impact analyses of required reforms of our tax policy, investment grade, and social services financing models. These are all critical aspects of our socio-economic system and must of necessity be accorded such generous enough examination as presenting the budget statement this month will not allow.
The Finance Minister says to ensure that the public purse is kept in line, government will be looking at setting out a fiscal responsibility law to manage the public's finances.
To ensure that Barbados retains adequate fiscal space, to be able to provide needed protections to the most vulnerable in our society without compromising public finances. To ensure sustainable levels of public debt that can be comfortably serviced and does not constrain other beneficial public expenditures. To ensure that during the period of relatively high revenues, public expenditures are contained to provide fiscal space for the proverbial rainy days. To ensure that the country retains adequate fiscal space to undertake targeted and strategic interventions to facilitate national development and to promote transparency in the management of the nation's public finances.
And with concern about the continuation of funding major social services like education, healthcare and environmental management, Mr. Sinclair says there will be a national discourse on the way forward. Lisa Lord, CBC News.
Lisa, thank you. Barbados has initialed an exploration license with the international oil exploration giant BHP Billiton to begin the search for oil and gas offshore. Finance Minister Chris Sinclair says Prime Minister Fendel Stewart will make a more detailed announcement soon.
These prospects look exceedingly promising, and the Right Honourable Prime Minister in his capacity as Minister of Energy will make a public announcement shortly on this matter as he and the principals of the said company sign the formal documents at a public event.
Mr. Sinclair says Cabinet has approved the reform of the functions of several state-owned enterprises. He says while some level of attrition is anticipated, there won't be any mass retrenchment. Mr. Sinclair listed those agencies which will be affected.
In Cluster 1, Urban and Rural Development Commissions and the NHC. Cluster 2, the National Sports Council, Gymnasium, and COMI. Cluster 3, BTI and Needham's Point Development, Inc., and Cluster 4, Needham's Point Management, Inc., and Hotel and Resorts Limited. Permit me to indicate, sir, that in relation to this initiative, there will be full consultation with the social partners, particularly the workers' representatives, so as to ensure that we have an orderly implementation of the process.
Opposition leader Mia Motley says Minister Sinclair's ministerial statement was an apology to Barbadians and an admission that government's plans to return the economy to growth have failed. Speaking to the media in the opposition offices in Parliament, Ms. Motley said it would have been better if the finance minister had said nothing. She said the statement was ill-timed and makes no impact on the lives of Barbadians, particularly the CLICO policy holders, businesses and individuals who have not yet received their VAT and income tax returns, students of the University of the West Indies who have not received bursaries promised by government, and no word on the sugar industry. The MP for St. Michael North East said her party hoped government would have abolished the constituency councils as a cost-cutting measure or lower the cost of fuel as the price on the international market continues to drop.
Why it is Barbadians continue to pay energy prices at such high rates when energy prices internationally have dropped by more than 30% since June, and whether it is the intention of government to remove the 15 cents per litre tax that they have put at the Barbados National Oil Company, so that every person buying gasoline and diesel in this country is now paying an extra 15 cents in tax in order to be able to deal with the fact that the government used the Barbados National Oil Company as the banker for 3 or 4 statutory corporations to keep them afloat over the course of the last 6 to 9 months. Last year or so.
Ms. Motley says the predicted 0.3% economic growth is negligible, noting a recent report from the International Monetary Fund indicates government has not met its revenue and expenditure targets for 2013.
The government indicated in the budget of August 2013 that at the end of the last financial year that it would have expenditure of 3.4 billion. Its expenditure last year was over 3.8 billion. The government indicated that it would have revenue of 2.26 billion, and in the very IMF report, which is being used as the basis for preparation for the statement next year, the figure quoted for the revenue is $2.1 billion, so that he has missed both the revenue and the expenditure targets set out for 2013-2014.
Head of the Barbados Economic Society, Jeremy Stevens, says they were intrigued by some of the things contained in the finance minister's statement. He specifically highlighted areas related to tourism.
We were especially intrigued by the fact that there were so many projects due to be kicked off in 2015, which will really aid once properly implemented and the capital and necessary concessions are provided, some sense of recovery. However, with tourist arrivals, the increase in tourist arrivals, we still remain very cautious on the expectations of some great recovery in the industry itself, particularly as many establishments still face considerable amounts of arrears and a reduced workforce.
Mr. Stephen also weighed in on the projections related to the fiscal adjustment program.
Having 14 weeks of import cover is good enough to have ended the year, and the hope is that this holiday season would take us well into more import cover and allow us to sustain, if we don't consider the foreign direct investment expected to be received next year, sustain the year 2015 considerably. Now, with that being said, it's also good to see that the government has maintained that it will have considerable savings, $200 to the amount of $290 million by the end of the fiscal year, given its fiscal consolidation exercise.
Barbadians are looking for every way to save at Christmas, and now many are finding their way to a pea field in St. Michael to get peas cheap. Shane Seeley was no exception, as we hear in this report.
Today I'm rolling up my sleeves and I'm picking peas. And it's a special occasion for me, the first time I'm doing this in my entire life. And I'm joining scores of Barbadians here at this ground in the Bell, doing much of the same because, as I'm hearing, it's a lot cheaper to pick your own peas than to go and buy them from a street vendor. This is the scene every day of the week during the Christmas season, early on mornings.
I like picking peas. Like I say, I ain't live too far from here. I just short cross the road, so I come down, pick some peas. But I like picking peas, but I don't like shelling.
Why choose to pick peas instead of going town or go at a market and buy them from a vendor probably?
Well, to be truthful, it's cheaper, right? If you can come and pick your own peas. And if it's a hawker, you pick your own peas and shell, and you can make a profit. But it's a challenging time and consuming timing in shelling the peas. That's the truth.
Well, of course, everyone knows it's Christmas. What do you plan to do with your peas?
Well, jug will be the main priority, and some rice and peas and some pork chops. That will be my main thing.
For some like myself, it was the first time.
Right now I'm home on holiday, and I just come out because the madam wanted me to come along and keep her company and pick some peas. And I really enjoyed it. It's a nice experience.
Esme Franklin is a vendor. She plies her trade at Charles Row Bridge in St. George and sells her peas at $10 a pint. But it's also fun for her and her grands who help pick and wash the peas.
I like doing it. It's fun to come in the pea ground, and pick peas, and then so much fun selling them, shelling them, and then getting them sold.
Esme says it's a good year for the pea ground.
They're picking good. They're fully, they leave them to full up early, and then you come and you, like I show you here, bring my bag, like I show you here. I came in here from 5:30 this morning.
Wow.
Yeah, and I have my searchlight.
Those are a lot of peas.
Yeah.
You can give me some?
No, I don't think so. You have to pick your own.
It was hard work in the pea field today. I got about a pound of peas that cost like around $3. I did not pick all, I must admit. My mother would not be proud about that, but she will definitely have enough to make some rice and peas and probably some jug. I'm Shane Seeley for CBC News.
Good work picking those peas, Shane. Well, the Health Ministry has denied what it has described as a persistent rumor that a case of Ebola has been diagnosed in Barbados. Instead, Chief Medical Officer Dr. Joy St. John has confirmed that 2 people who presented at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital with fever have tested positive for malaria. She says the hospital has the capacity for making such diagnoses. Dr. St. John says neither of the 2 people have a travel history to the countries in West Africa where the Ebola outbreak is ongoing, nor have they had contact with anyone who has Ebola. Both are now being treated at the hospital. Police have identified the body of the man found along Grisette's Main Road in St. Michael. It is that of 68-year-old Samuel Paris of Park Road, Bush Hall, St. Michael. Lawmen say his body was discovered around 12:15 on Sunday afternoon. Reports suggest no foul play is suspected in Paris's death. The Garrison Consortium will be recreating an 18th century dinner at the George Washington House this tourist season. Speaking at the opening of the dinner season, Vice President of the consortium, Peter Stevens, says the event will occur every Monday night, starting from December 22nd until March 30th.
Dinner with George basically is an authentic recreation of a 18th century dinner, using authentic foods, people in authentic dress. Now, it is also the type of dinner that George Washington used to have for his friends and colleagues later on in his life when he was in the United States. What we decided to do is bring that type of dinner that he used to have himself and bring it back here to Barbados in a room that he has actually had dinner in. Because remember, Barbados is the only country that George Washington ever visited in his entire life outside of mainland USA.
Mr. Stevens says last year's turnout was great and this year's response has been high. He was also very pleased that many locals were at the event last season and have also showed their interest in this year again.
We were very pleased that the dinner was widely patronized by Barbadians themselves, and it was enjoyed by all, as far as we can tell. So the response has been great, and the expectation for this year has been quite high. We've been taking bookings now for a number of months on the dates. There's still plenty of availability, so we're not scaring anybody off. And it is also something quite unique. You don't get this kind of experience in Barbados. In fact, you don't get much of this kind of experience in many places in the world. So coming here to do this is a real opportunity.
More news after the break, but first we want to get your take on this question. Do you believe Barbados' economic recovery is too heavily dependent on tourism? Text yes or no to short code 8111. We'll have the result for you at the end of the news.
One for me, to me, for me. Yes. You don't need speakers, right?
Upgrade to win every week with Lime. Sign up for Lime TV or broadband or purchase an iPhone 6 or Samsung Note 4. Upgrade Christmas with Lime.
Deck the halls with Christmas spirit. La, 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 la. Make your Christmas bright and merry. La, 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 la. We're getting in the spirit at My Cave Shepherd. Crossing off your list at My Cave Shepherd. The best Christmas gifts at My Cave Shepherd. Meet me for memories at My Cave Shepherd. Unwrap all your Christmas treasures. La, 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 la. Meet me here at My Cave Shepherd. La, 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 la.
Police are investigating a burglary at the Quartz Superstore at Emerald City in 6 Roads, St. Philip in the wee hours of this morning. Police Public Relations Officer, Acting Assistant Superintendent David Welch, says the showcase window of the establishment was smashed and 4 televisions were stolen. Meantime, police are investigating an accident involving a pedestrian and a car along Wildy Road around 10:45 this morning. The car was driven by 46-year-old Alison Moore of Vauxhall Christchurch. Pedestrian, 64-year-old Trevor Cummins of Britain's Hill St. Michael, complained of pain in his head, knees and right foot. He was taken to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital by ambulance. Some hardware stores seem to be doing well this Christmas season and are hoping sales will continue to pick up come next week. Supervisor for the houseware department at Do It Best, Terry Nichols, says she is satisfied with the results thus far.
Monday is a slow day, but from this morning, 9 o'clock, people were in the store and we've had it steady for the whole day actually. And tonight, I expect it to be even worse. I wasn't here last night, but the staff told me it was really, really busy last night. Up to 9 o'clock, people were still in the store shopping.
Meantime, store manager of Carter's in Wildy, Alan Goodman, says shoppers are spending less this season. While the Christmas rush is not as steady as compared to recent years, Mr. Goodman says sales are coming in and he's thankful.
It hasn't been the traditional Christmas rush, and it's fluctuating as well. It's not a steady pace throughout the day. You know, one moment you'll get a rush and then you will get a lull and then it picks up again. So it's not steady throughout the day. But like I said, we're grateful for our business we're getting.
The statistics show that younger women between the ages of 35 and 45 are being diagnosed with breast cancer in Barbados. Kimita Jones has the story about a survivor who was diagnosed with breast cancer at the age of 41.
The results are back, and it's positive for breast cancer. A primary school teacher, Kim Hutchinson, tells us her reaction to those words.
To sit and to hear a doctor say to you, after you've been just going along with your life, that you have breast cancer, I mean, this is like a blowback. So it's like, whoa, he can't be serious. He probably got me mixed up with somebody else. Maybe that was somebody else's test that they mixed up. Maybe not, that's not me.
Volunteer doctor at the breast screening clinic, Harash Thani, says a patient's denial is part of the process.
Once you get through that denial part of it, then the next question is, why me? Why not somebody else? And that's the question I always ask them, why me? I say, who do you want to give it to? My answer is always, who do you want to give it to? Right? Then they look at me and think I'm mad. But it's just something that everyone has to go through.
Then the battle against cancer begins. A patient can either have the lump taken out, which is called a lumpectomy, or a mastectomy, which is having the breast removed. Mr. Thani says that a mastectomy on both breasts does not guarantee a patient will be cancer-free.
And studies are now showing that by taking off the other breast does not prevent the other side from getting breast cancer. The only indication for taking off breasts prophylactically is if patients are what we call BRCA positive. This is a breast cancer antigen positive. If you're BRCA positive, it's advisable that you remove the breast because BRCA1 gives you about a 50 to 70% possibility of developing breast cancer. And that's what Angelina Jolie did.
Mrs. Hutchinson still has both breasts since the cancerous lump has been removed. She says a breast examination is part of her daily routine.
It's a regular thing as day as night. I just check. I just be checking to see if there's anything different, how I feel, yeah.
Along with regular checks, the breast cancer survivor has made changes to the way she treats her body by what she puts in it.
I have to be constantly like detoxing. I have to be constantly taking vitamins and try to eat raw foods or do my blends like my kale and my spinach and stuff like that so that I can oxygenate my blood and things like that. So those are things, regimes that you have to be doing. You have to be always cognizant that, okay, you know, well, you need to detox. Persons don't understand. Oh, you drink all these things, or eating all this. Well, you eat a little bit of everything, but people would say, you have to eat a bit of everything. No, you don't have to eat a bit of everything. you know what you are. So anybody, and sometimes it makes me angry because persons will say, oh, but you people get dead, so you come out eat it. And what a lot of people don't understand is that sugar feeds cancer.
The mother of two has also had to overcome her sweet tooth.
It has left me really conscious about my health. Even to the terms with my daughter, I'm always saying to my daughter, but you shouldn't be eating this, or you shouldn't be drinking this, and try to make her conscious of what she puts in her mouth. But I don't think she's at that point as yet. I don't think she's at that point as yet. But I am trying to get her there where I'm saying, look, you really need to be careful what you're eating.
Mrs. Hutchinson reads every bit of information available on breast cancer. Her support system is close friends like this one who helps her to understand the fight against breast cancer. She is encouraging family members to talk about their health challenges with each other because the best protection is early detection. Kimita Jones, CBC News.
Kimita, thank you. We'll have regional news next, but first a reminder that we want to hear from you on the question, do you believe Barbados' economic recovery is too heavily dependent on tourism? Text yes or no to short code 8111.